The liquidators of VBS Mutual Bank have won a default judgment to recoup a 6.5 million rand loan from former President Jacob Zuma. This is for upgrades to his Nkandla homestead in KwaZulu-Natal. The defunct Mutual Bank has been given the green light to seize cattle, furniture and other assets to repay the debt. Zuma defaulted on his monthly installments 5 months after VBS was put under curatorship in 2018. It comes after the Constitutional Court ordered Zuma to repay public funds originally used, in line with former Public Protector's Thuli Madonsela report on the upgrades. On to this now. The victims of crime report shows nearly 1 million house breakings and a few 100,000 cases of home robberies, as many as twice the vehicle hijackings from the year before. From a total of 1.4 million home break-ins, 40.8% went unreported. Statistics South Africa says the victims of crimes report, which was released earlier today, gives supplementary perspective to the latest crime statistics published by the police earlier this month. Joining us now to explain these numbers is Molayi, the Chief Director responsible for social statistics, at StatsSA. Soli, good evening and thank you very much for your time and for joining us tonight here on In Focus. This, would you say, is a reflection of the true crime levels in the country?
Good evening, Tawa, and good evening to the viewers. Thank you so much. So the survey that we are referring to is the survey that actually collect information around perceptions. I mean, the type of crime that South Africans have experienced in the period between April last year up until March this year. So what we have found is that between these two periods, this period is that South African they have experienced housebreaking as the most common type of crime. So it is a survey that gave us insight in terms of some of the crime that they may not necessarily be reported at the police station, but from the survey point of view, we may be able to pick it up. So it's a complementary to the South African Police Service crime data that they release on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. So what you're saying, what is fundamentally different between the victims of crime survey and the quarterly statistics coming from the police is that what you have here are possibly some crimes committed that were not reported to the police?
Yes. So we remember from the police is the type of crimes that were reported at that particular period. So from the survey, let's go into the numbers itself. So if you look at the housebreaking, we talking about 893,000 households that actually experience this type of crime, and around 1 million incidents. So incidents meaning that you may have more than one housebreaking. So in South Africa, we see 1.4 million incidents. So from those number of incidents, only 59.2 were reported to the police. So not all 1.4 million incidents were reported to the police. So it's only 59% of those that were reported to police. So that's why I'm saying that it is a survey and a quarterly crime data that is reported on a quarterly basis. It gives us a holistic picture of type of crimes that are happening, and also the issues of safety, because in the survey we're not only collecting issues around victims of crime, but we're also looking at the safety issues.
Yeah. So this trend of a discrepancy revealed here that you've just pointed out of a large number of crime experienced in households not being reported to the police, is it a trend that is showing across all the categories of crime?
Majority of this type of crime. For example, let's look at home robbery. From our report, there were around more than 200,000 home robbery. And by the way, home robbery, it's when someone come to your house when you are available, and whereas housebreaking is when you are not at home. So home robbery, around 63% of those incidents that were experienced at that particular period were reported. If you look at it from the individual type of crime, like, for example, thefts of personal property, there were around 1.3 incidents of this type of crime, but only 30% were reported to the police. And again, it depending on whether, for argument's sake, you may have lost Thabo, you may have lost your bank account, bank card. You may not necessarily go to the police to report it, but you may go to your bank to go and report it. Or you may have lost your cell phone or any other personal property that you may have lost, that you may deem it as not necessarily, warranty you to go to the police station. So when we go to the household and ask you whether have you actually experienced this, from the survey side, we'll able to record those type of crime that you have been reported. So it's not necessarily an indication that South Africans, they don't necessarily have faith in going and reporting this. It really depending on the type of crime.
Yeah. Looking still at the percentage of crimes not reported to the SAPS, consumer fraud, 55.8% of those crimes are not reported. Consumer fraud crime, what exactly are you looking at there in that category of crime?
So consumer fraud, it could be, somebody taking like your 99 scam. It could be, your credit card somebody get into your account and take money. So it's those type of consumer fraud that we're referring to. And what we've noticed is that during the 2020, where it was, most of us were around, obviously, level 5, especially around level 5 restriction. This type of crimes, we had a dip in terms of getting looking at it from the survey point of view. It's only when after we lift the restrictions, we start seeing now the numbers that are increasing in terms of the type of crime, but they haven't reached the 2019, meaning the pre-COVID numbers. But most of these type of crime, they are increasing. So it will be very interesting to see in the period that we are in now, whether the numbers that we're going to release in the following year, whether they will be either going towards the 2019 numbers, or they will even go above the pre-COVID-19 numbers.
Yeah. What's also quite interesting in terms of being highlighted here, in fact, maybe also to a degree, something that should be important and maybe be looked in a little bit deeper, is the fact that the data on sexual offences, you're saying, is not adequate enough for you to draw some kind of statistically relevant conclusions. Now, we know that crimes of sexual offences have got a whole lot of range of limitations, in fact, people opening up about them. But how did you go about trying to get that kind of information? What were the questions that were asked?
So maybe, Thabo, let me start by saying that the period that in which we were collecting, we were still under lockdown. If you still recall, at some point, I think around June, we moved to level 4, I think during winter or so. So we had to adjust as StatsSA to collect, to do our surveys. And it is still a very difficult process to collect information because, South Africans, they are still having a fear of opening their doors. As you know, that most of our surveys are relying on the face-to-face, so we have to come to your house and then request you to participate on the survey. But then during these periods, we have to, move to a telephonic interviews, which are quite difficult to conduct because we have noticed that in the previous data collection point around the sexual offense type of crimes, most of the perpetrators are within the household. And now, if you have to ask this type of question over the phone, it's quite a little bit of a challenge because you don't even understand, whether the person who's responding, whether is the person very safe, to respond to this type of questions. So it is unfortunately that at this particular period, we couldn't able to collect some of this information. But at the same time also, Thabo, it is also a challenge, like I said, that most of this type of crime, the perpetrators are within the household. So it is a little bit of a challenge to even get a more statistical and estimate that one can actually share with the South African, because we are in the business of sharing statistics, but at the same time, we're also in the business of also influencing policies moving forward. Yeah.
A significant portion of the population, Soli, feels they is nothing they can do. So a significant number of people feel that they actually are helpless in terms of defeating crime, but also in terms of even what can be done as far as their losses are concerned. There is a very close degree also who say, I don't know what to do. And there is also another number that says, I have no money. I mean, that in itself, it's a reflection that I suppose people in the country are now at the point where they are generally feeling unsafe.
Yes, but maybe, Thabo, let's paint a clear picture here. So the survey, there's a question where we're asking whether, Thabo, are you feeling safe to walk alone during the day or during the night? And when you compare to the previous data point, we've seen that actually fewer South Africans now, they're saying, I'm not safe, whether working during the day or even during the night. So during the night, we're sitting around 36% of South Africans who say, I'm feeling safe to walk during the night. And then we further ask whether, what is it, any measure to protect yourselves that you are doing now to protect yourself. And we also have seen an increase there also, Thabo, where now we were sitting around 30%, now we're sitting around 47.7% of South Africans who say, you know what, Soli, I'm actually going to do something to protect myself. And now we're going to your point, Thabo. Now, when you ask them what type of measures are you protecting, then those who said yes, I'm going to do something, which are around 47%, they're saying, I'm altering how I walk, instead of, I changed my traveling pattern. I don't walk in a certain time. I also don't walk alone. I walk with either a friend or a colleague. Some, they even indicated that now they even have now to, install the alarm system in their house, And then there is another group of South Africans who said, I don't know what to do. I don't have anything that I can do. I don't even have money to even put some measures around it. So yes, we have noticed that from this current point that now more and more South Africans are saying they don't feel safe. And like I said, those who said they have a means to protect themselves, these are some of the things that they said that they will actually, install burglar doors in their home just to protect themselves against crime.
Molayi, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and helping us with those numbers. He is from Statistics South Africa, and he is the Chief Director. They're responsible for the social statistics. Now,